Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. I am your host Tom Downey, and you guys have asked me on YouTube in the comments, on my Twitter DMs, for a Cowboys 7-round mock draft. Well, I am here to deliver it for you guys. All 7 rounds, although it's not really 7 rounds because there's no first-round pick and there's no 6th-round pick for the Cowboys. So again, 6 picks in total for the Cowboys. Round 2, Round 3, 2 in Round 4, one of them being a compensatory pick as the result of losing Anthony Hitchens. Then a Round 5 and a Round 7 pick. Now, the Cowboys have more than just 6 needs if you include depth positions, so we're not going to be able to fill every single need right now, but we'll fill most of them, and we'll show you some potential options for each pick. So we'll start things off in Round 2, pick number 58. Here were the guys on the board for me on the Draft Network Mock Draft Simulator. Dre'Mont Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Isaac Nada, Taylor Rapp, and DEEBO Samuel. If that actually happens and those guys are on the board, sign me up. I'd love Dre'Mont Jones. You guys know I like my big defensive linemen like Dexter Lawrence. Taylor Rapp is intriguing to me. He was kind of one of the last of the really good safeties still on the board. I was kind of hoping Darnell Savage could slide a little bit too. And DEEBO Samuel was there as well. So for me, bunch of different options, but I'm going with DEEBO here. And again, we can't benefit from by knowing what happens in free agency, so we'll pretend the Cowboys didn't re-sign Cole Beasley and they draft DEEBO Samuel. This is exactly what I want for the Cowboys. DEEBO can play inside, he can play outside, and oh, by the way, he can help on returns at well. If Samuel's on the board at number 58 and the Cowboys don't re-sign Cole Beasley, this is the exact type of player I want. A perfect fit for Dallas and really in reality, I think fills multiple needs. The slot receiver need and the kick return / punt return need the Cowboys have. So if you lose Cole and you lose Tavon, you can just fill both those spots with the replacement for DEEBO Samuel. Now, if all things are equal, which position would you prefer in Round 2? Type W for a wide receiver, S for a safety, or D for a D lineman. You can also throw in tight end, I guess, if you want. Those were kind of the 3 areas I focused on, and Isaac Nada, of course, wasn't really a main option there in Round 2. Now, for Round 3, I now kind of regret perhaps not taking a safety there because Marquise Blair and Monty Hooker are the 2 left. I don't really love those guys in Round 3. Damian Harris is the top back on the board. Renell Wren, the DT from Arizona State, strongly considered it, but I thought about Isaac Nada in Round 2. I'm going to take him in Round 3 at number 90 overall because this is the classic Cowboys tight end. A very good blocker, was underused in college, but he fits the style of that inline tight end the Cowboys like. I could see him somewhat being in play at number 58 overall. So if we draft Isaac Nada, then maybe you didn't end up signing Tyler Eifert, which is fine. You bring in Schultz and Nada and Jarwin. That's a good trio at tight end. Maybe not necessarily in week 1, but I think in a very quick time frame, Nada becomes your number 1 tight end. Schultz can become your number 2, number 3. Blake Jarwin becomes your number 2 or number 3 again. I know maybe you don't necessarily desperately need a tight end, but I like the value here for Nada in Round 3. Again, I strongly consider going DT in Renell Wren, but I like the value in particular of Nada. And of course, we ended up going offensive heavy there for the first 2 picks. So we'll get to some more defensive selections. But first, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. Put down $100, and they're going to give you $120. You guys will not find a better betting deal out there than the one over on BetDSI, chatsports.com/bet. To Round 4 now. Couple DTs I'm looking at here because I do want some more impact defensive players. Dalen Mack, more of a 1 technique. Daniel Wise, more of the 3 technique. I wanted to find a safety. There was no good value here. And then some backs to watch out for. Darwin Thompson, Miles Sanders both jump out to me. Dax Raymond falls to Round 4. Makes me regret at least a little bit the fact that I didn't maybe that I took Isaac Nada in Round 3. But for Round 4, even though producer Brett doesn't like it because he's a K-State grad, I'm taking Daniel Wise, the defensive tackle out of Kansas. Again, I think he is a Cowboys type of player. A good fit as a disruptor at the 3 technique. He's a little bit underweight. He only checked in at about 283 at the East-West Shrine game. So yes, he's undersized, but the Cowboys like guys that can bring pass rush help. That's what Daniel Wise can do. Now you're set in the interim at the top. At defensive tackle, Antoine Woods, Malik Collins, Tyrone Crawford, who can play some DT as well. But Collins' contract is up after next year. You might not bring him back, and you need depth as well at both the 1 technique and the 3 technique. We know the Cowboys prefer players that can penetrate, rush the passer, and get in the backfield. That's Daniel Wise, even though he isn't exactly the biggest type of player. So I think Wise, I might have Dalen Knock higher on my final board, but I'm not the Cowboys. And I think the Cowboys would prefer a guy that brings a little bit more on the pass rush side of things. Now, obviously, I'm doing my mock draft, and I already ran through the simulator earlier. But do you guys want a live, fan-led Cowboys mock draft? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let's see if you guys want to do that. We got to work on some of the logistics of actually making it work. But if you're interested, type Y for yes, and make sure you're subscribed. YouTube.com/Dallas Cowboys Report. Just hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. It's pretty simple. We'll keep you covered all offseason long for the Cowboys with free agency and, of course, the NFL Draft. All right, time for the comp pick in round 4. Couple of backs on the board that I like. Rodney Anderson, Dalen Mack still there, Miles Sanders, Darwin Thompson. Funny enough, it ended up happening that Dax even went off the board in between my 2 picks, so that was pretty funny there. And I'll also make note here of CHUMA EDOGA, the OT from USC, but I want a running back. And if you guys want to extend Zeke Elliott, you should invest in a back as well. Give me Miles Sanders, a guy that I like quite a bit, perhaps more than others out there in the draft community. But if you want to re-sign Zeke Elliott, you've got to lighten his workload. You can't keep giving him 25, 30 touches every single game because his body just will not hold up. Rod Smith might not be back. Even if you do, you still probably want another back. Give me Miles Sanders, who at times runs a little bit like Saquon Barkley does, but he's nowhere near the player because, well, he's not Saquon Barkley. But he's a good jumper. I think he finally got the chance, I should say, to be the featured back for Penn State, a former 5-star recruit. I saw some flashes. Does still need, I think, some more development time because he hasn't had that many reps, but limited, mileage on those legs. I like the value here, late round 4 for Miles Sanders. So sign me up there at number 136 overall. Now, I'll spoil it here for you guys. I did not find a safety. In hindsight, I think I might have preferred to go Taylor Rapp in round 2, find a receiver later, because there were some guys I liked that slid really far down. So how upset will you be if the Cowboys don't draft a safety early? For our purposes, I'm just going to rewrite the past, I guess, in this mock draft. The Cowboys signed Earl Thomas, so it's fine. They don't really need a safety in the end. All right, round 4. One safety I was kind of tempted by, or round 5, was Mike Edwards, but he's more of a box safety. I didn't love it all that much. Now Darwin Thompson's still there. Wish I hadn't taken Miles Sanders, but that's the nature of the NFL Draft. I'll make note of Isaiah Johnson, a lanky, long corner, very raw, but fits the Chris Richard mold. And although I've kind of ignored defense for the most part, I'm going to go offense again. Give me the offensive lineman out of USC, CHUMA EDOGA. Now, he played right tackle at USC, but was fairly impressive, and by fairly, I mean very impressive at the Senior Bowl. He was named Player of the Week moving to the left side. That strikes me as, this guy could be a swing tackle. Now, there are some physical flaws. He doesn't play with a ton of power, but this is a swing tackle type with developmental upside. That's what the Cowboys, I think, should be targeting this year in the NFL Draft. I thought about him in round 4. To get him in round 5, that's really good value for me. Even if you bring back Cam Fleming, you still might want to look into a young swing tackle type who you could maybe develop into being a guy that could take over for La'el Collins, whose contract is up after the 2019 season. So not the biggest guy, not the strongest guy. Checked in at 6'3 3/4 and 303 pounds. Kind of not the strongest guy, but developmental type, I think is a good pick here in round 5. Worst case, you stash him for a year and hope he never actually has to play because you have Tyron Smith and La'el Collins coming back for the 2019 season. No round 6 pick, so we'll get to our last one very quickly. Round 7, and a lot of guys you might not know here. Ryan Finley, I don't want him. Tim Harris and Savion Smith both fit the Chris Richard mold. Long and lanky. I would not be surprised if the Cowboys took a late round pick on a cornerback to help groom. Jalen Hurd out of Baylor. I think many of you guys have heard of him before. But let's go linebacker. I can't ignore defense the entire time here. Round 7 out of BYU, Sione Takitaki. Very fun story in terms of the way things ended up for him. Was a troublemaker at BYU early in his career. Suspended 3 different times, took a year off of football, got married, came back, ended up being a team captain. That's the type of thrower you want to have on your team there. Now, he's kind of a bit of a tweener at multiple different linebacker spots. If you want to put him at the Sam versus the middle linebacker versus the weak side, not quite fast enough, not quite big enough. In the end, he's really more of a depth buck guy. But again, it's round 7. You're not going to find an instant impact starter in round 7. That's the nature of the NFL draft. But bring him in, let him compete for a special teams role. That's exactly what you're looking for with the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe he could take the place truly of Justin March, who doesn't play a lot, but is one of your go-to special teams guys. By the way, one note on round 7's pick, Khalil Hodge went off the board 1 pick before me. He was going to be the choice here. Instead, I go with the BYU linebacker, Taki. Let's recap then my first Cowboys 2019 mock draft. DEEBO Samuel in round 2, Isaac Nada in round 3, and Daniel Wise, much to the chagrin of producer Brett Scott, AK State grad, in round 4. Then round 5, more offense, or round 4, more offense with Miles Sanders. Then round 5, stick with our offensive theme there, CHUMA EDOGA. And then round 7, Sione Taki. And again, we'll just pretend that the Cowboys signed Earl Thomas to explain why he never found a safety. So grade this mock draft for Dallas. A, B, C, D, or F. I think it's pretty good. I'll give it a B+. It's not perfect by any means. If I could do it all over again, I'd probably take Taylor Rapp in round 2 and go find my receiver later. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.